All right, this week I'm here with Helaine Knapp. Helaine is the founder and creator of CITYROW, which holds near and dear to my heart as a rower, not like in the water rower, but as a rower in the gym growing up when it was December 2013 and I heard that there was a rowing studio opening up in New York City. I had to check it out. Also, as friends with my cousin, and then also your attorney, Jared, also telling me about it, them knowing how much I love rowing. I then became addicted.
Very addicted.
To what you created.
Yeah.
Helaine is also now an author of Making Waves, and within 2 days, I'm about 80% of the way done, but I think we're going to have a spoiler for the rest of the book during the show.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
So, you tell me, like, right now, what are you doing?
Right now, I am enjoying summer. I'm consulting for some very, very awesome companies that I was able and lucky enough to handpick.
Is this kind of like connections through being a founder and then leaving CITYROW, or was this more tech-based?
You know, a little bit of both. I think it's super interesting, and I'll be honest, I did the same thing in many different functions for 10 plus years, and I knew, because I have a lot of founder friends, that there's this big level of uncertainty and sadness, and like it's pretty scary to all of a sudden like not be a founder and CEO anymore kind of overnight. And you go through waves of being like, am I good at anything? Like, do I have any marketable skills?
Like, I built my company, but like, what could I do for anyone else?
Exactly. And like, I think I'm really good at being a CEO, and I'm really good at being CITYROW's CEO because that was my company and I had deep passion for it. But at the same time, I don't know what like, if I were to build a resume, it would just be like, I can fucking do anything, try me. You know, that would kind of be what I put on the resume.
Yeah, it would be like, just get a ride on the Helaine train.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough. And it was interesting because I had people that came to me and said like, would love for you to be the CEO of this or that. And my gut reaction was like, fuck you.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I realized that I should probably work through that in therapy a little bit, because I should probably be flattered by these people who are, you know, offering me.
Yeah, well, do you think it's associated with maybe what they want you to be CEO of, or is it the fact that they want you to like just join their company and not yours?
They want a piece of the Helaine train. They saw what I did. They were super impressed, and they were like, oh, great, she could be our CEO. And I think I'm at a point now, and I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to try a couple things and start to see what I like and what I don't like. I actually like having my hand in a lot of things. I love being a coach. I love being an advisor. I love being a strategic partner. I love helping to incubate and get things off the ground. In the short term, I do not see myself taking a solo like CEO or executive role anywhere. And I've done enough work actually with some great like friends of ours and community to help me figure out that there's actually not enough money to get me to take the CEO position for a random company. There needs to be a lot of things that are very aligned. No, I'm making no big decisions right now. I'm doing some awesome consulting work. I'm like a chief strategy officer for a gifting company, which is like super fucking cool and wild.
What does that mean, gifting company?
So it's a choice-based gifting program where basically instead of like, say you're like, hey, Helaine, thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast. You want to send me a gift, right? That'd be super nice. And you're like, oh, what am I going to send her? She's so hard to buy for. Instead, you just send me a link to Loop and Tie, and you get to pick what cost you want to make the gift. 25, 50, 100, 500. Maybe I was a good guest. And I get to pick my own gift.
And there's a startup.
It's actually a lot more than a startup. It's kind of killing it.
Excuse me. This sounds like something that would have existed for a while.
It has, but it's if you unless you're looking for the solution, you might not know it exists. And so it's used a lot for kind of larger companies that have to do like employee gifting, milestones.
That's probably why it sounds familiar.
holidays.
Because I'm thinking like on the back end, looking to get someone. There was a website. I don't remember what it was called. Maybe what was the company name?
Loop and Tie.
Maybe it was Loop and Tie. And it was like here's our vendor. If you want to get closing gifts for a client, you don't want to just get them a bottle of champagne. Put the cost here and use this.
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, but people in real estate do use it. And they love it, and their retention's like kind of off the charts.
All around the country?
Just all around the country.
How many employees?
Oh my God, Loop and Tie.
Yeah.
We've got close to 50 employees. But
Huh.
like this company is servicing all the big residential and commercial real estate.
And you're consulting for them.
I am. I'm having so much fun. But you asked how I got there, and I got there through. I went on this trip to Israel in 2019 through a company called Reality, and it was an awesome trip of entrepreneurs. And one of the women on the trip, we weren't actually super close on the trip, but we stayed
Yeah.
good friends. She was in Austin, and she asked me to go on a walk one day after we had seen each other at some like group events, and she asked for my advice on something.
In Israel.
No, sorry, this past year.
Oh.
In Israel, we were friendly, but like kind of, just stayed loosely in touch until I recently moved to Austin in the winter. And we ended up chatting, and she's like, I got to make some changes. And she's like, could you be helpful? And I was like, thinking
Yep.
through what the things were that were important to me in this next chapter. Flexibility, doing things that I'm really good at, which is sales and mentoring people. I love having a positive effect on women. This was a team of all women. And there was a part of me that, looked at her and I knew she wanted to do something big with her company this year. My story didn't end in the way that it should have. And there's a little piece of me that thinks if I can help somebody else have a kick-ass ending to their story, it will feel really, really, really good for me. So yes, I want to help someone else, but also like I got a chip on my shoulder, Steve.
I get that, and I don't know yet how it ended. And there's different ways to look at what you're saying. You're saying it didn't end well. It didn't end right. Did you? What was the word you used?
I think I used all of the words that are
I used
negative.
all of those. But I hate to be corny, but you learned so much out of it.
So much.
And we're still in our 30s
Yeah.
where we got a lot of life to live, and your next venture is going to take everything you already know. So you're not gonna have to relearn everything, and it's gonna already be great. So you're gonna start it great. You're not gonna have to build to great.
Yeah.
You're gonna start it great.
Thank you.
But that's fair to say. So then when you're helping other women entrepreneurs,
Yes.
women doers, you're able to bring that 10 years of experience, 10 years, 15 years if you throw in all your experience in the tech space.
Totally.
15 years of experience learning under great people, and then building your own company, and like everything you did, you wore a lot of hats.
Thank you. Yeah, you're spot on, and I appreciate that. And there is an element of, I kind of need to just like jump into some projects to see what I love, because it had been so long since I did anything quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
And everyone says the same thing, similar to you, right? They're like, Helaine, you've done so much, you built amazing things. Whatever you do next is going to be just so incredible, and you're so young and so many things. And I can kind of hear that, but at the same time, I don't know what it is that I'm going to do. And so I've dipped my toes into a few different things, and this is the first one that feels like really fun. And I leave the end of the week thinking, oh, I had a really positive impact on people and a company. And so I'm excited to just continue to like pull those things out of myself over the next chunk of time.
Yeah,
because it's there.
the common theme I'm hearing with this is that you're doing what makes you happy, and doing
Yeah.
what makes you happy is leaving a lasting impression on people. Where one, they're better who they are because of what you impressed upon them.
I hope so.
And
yes.
they can now either one push that forward, or their business, you can then see it thriving
Exactly.
inside.
Yeah, it's fun. It's weird at times when people say, "Well, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
For 12 years, 10 years, I was the founder and CEO of CITYROW, and it was
Yeah.
a kind of an easy story. And so I'm still getting, comfortable with what that sounds like. But I would say if you'd asked me this 6 months ago, I would have been in a little bit of a tougher place to answer. And now I'm like excited. Like now I'm excited, and I think I've gotten enough. I have a few really awesome consulting projects I'm probably tapped out for right now. But things keep coming across my plate, and I'm able to be a little bit more like yes, no, a little bit faster. And I'm excited. Like I'm genuinely excited for whatever comes next.
Yeah, it's only going to get more plentiful, where you'll be able to have your pick of the litter going forward, I assume.
Yeah, I think so.
So, where did it all begin? Not where did CITYROW begin? Where did your zest for like being a G? Where did your zest for being like the boss come into play?
Well, as you read in chapter 1, I think I was a boss like the day I was born. You know those memories that you don't remember, but your parents and family love to tell?
Every few years,
Yeah.
every few months, the story comes up. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're just like, sounds fun. I wasn't really there. But those stories definitely had a theme, and it was this child and toddler is very bossy. And we really extracted a lot of those stories for the book, which was intentional to try and lay a foundation for. It was probably always inside of me, and actually the bigger, like, interesting, I think, storyline was around the fact that, you know, I was a shy, chubby kid growing up, and that those natural leadership tendencies were squashed for a while. And it didn't, and I kind of always knew there was something inside of me that hadn't really reached its potential yet. So during college, started working. It was really, honestly, it was in the working world that, like, I started just totally explode.
I love this, and like you see the smirk on my face right
Yeah.
now. I'm having a moment right now,
Share, please share.
kind of like when you what show? Like, did you watch Breaking Bad?
No.
All right, so after Breaking Bad, you would then go on whatever channel it was, and they would have a show talking about the show. Or like, I don't know if Bravo does that with like that television
I
where
think they do, yeah.
Yeah, so they have like shows talking about the show.
Yeah.
Talking to you about your life and about your story while I'm like in the middle of reading the book, it's like helping me look at parts of the book from a different perspective. I was like, oh, that was the overlying theme that her founder mentality, her bossiness was being suppressed by her uncomfortability with being a preteen and what was going on in her life.
What a beautiful review that you're going to write for Amazon later. That's amazing.
I will.
Yeah.
And I will impress upon anybody to leave a great review.
Thank
So
you.
far, it's great.
Thank you. Thank you for reading it.
So your bossiness gets suppressed.
Yeah.
You go to University of Michigan.
Go blue.
You start coming out of your shell.
Uh-huh.
Really coming out of your shell. Now we move back to New York City, and you dive into the tech space.
I do. So I always had a love for technology, and after trying a little bit of time at Condé Nast, the publishing world, appreciating it for what it was, gave me a great foundation. I made my way to Buddy Media, which was this fast-growing, awesome tech company. It's where I met my co-founder for CITYROW, and really a lot of the people that I'm still connected with today when it comes to networking. And we had a really good ride. It's where I met your cousin.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun.
Looking at like the crew that was at Buddy Media,
Yeah.
like it kind of in a lesser sense, but like just it reminds me of like like the PayPal crew.
Yep.
It's like the PayPal crew. Like I knew so many people from Buddy Media who all like were entrepreneurs that ended up going and doing something dope.
It's actually kind of wild. You know, people talk
Cool.
about their alumni communities being really good for college. College was fine. Michigan's great. I love it. But the Buddy Media alumni crew and just like the breadth and the depth of what people are doing is so fun because we'll always have that commonality. So I'm very grateful that that's the tech company that I stumbled upon.
Yeah.
And did about 2 years there. We sold to Salesforce. I lasted 6 days, as you read about in the book, and did another tech company also in the social media marketing space. Awesome team, great company. But it was about the same time that I was personally, I had an injury that led me on this journey to figure out that I thought there was a better way to move your body.
How did the injury come about?
So I was aggressively dancing on a spin bike, Steve. Aggressively, yeah. With no core strength.
Which company were you?
I mean, I was a SoulCycle junkie.
You were a SoulCycle junkie.
Junkie. Give me that front row, and like, I love being out of the saddle. And in
Bouncing.
retrospect, bouncing.
Yeah.
And I am sure that like the discs just like decided that they were going to leave voluntarily from my spine. Like, I mean, I was not being smart intentionally with movement, but what was upsetting is that I actually thought that I was doing good things for my body. I thought that every time I walked into that room, I was investing in my health and wellness. And that's actually what pissed me off so much when I got injured. Not that I was injured, because people get injured all the time from doing things that they love and that are good for them. But I thought that I was doing the right thing, and that's what really made me angry and probably gave me that extra fire.
Yeah, that really makes
Actually
me
opened
angry.
somebody.
Yeah, it really makes me angry because as a CITYROW junkie,
Yeah.
you were a SoulCycle junkie. I was a CITYROW junkie, and the big and most important thing is focusing on legs, core, arms, and having your posture correct.
Yeah.
Whereas the instructor is going to go and correct. Like, I remember when ClassPass was blowing up and I was doing all these classes, I remember going and trying like row house, I don't know, one of the other ones. And I remember one time I'm on a rower and this girl down over there doesn't have proper form. And I was cheating on CITYROW.
Yeah.
And I got up off my rower and I went over and I corrected her form because the instructor was letting this woman like potentially injure herself. And that just bothers me about hearing about like Soul Cycle, how they weren't correcting form, and like, especially because it's such a big community, to not make sure that everybody's doing it right.
I agree with you. Listen, that wasn't their goal, right? They set out to create a very different type of environment.
And they did.
And I think that once they realized that there were some challenges, they tried to work through them. But it was definitely an upsetting moment. I'm glad that you're correcting people's form. I still kind of do sometimes at the gym.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like at a hotel gym and I see some bad stuff going on. Most of the time I exercise restraint, but sometimes it's really hard to watch. So I'm glad that you also feel that pain.
I still do to this day.
Yeah.
Not so much on the rower, because the rowers in my gym are improperly placed.
Yeah.
But just when I see people not properly lifting,
Yeah.
I like to give my 2 cents.
Yeah.
So you get injured, and now you're like, what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? So I've been in this entrepreneurial world for a while, and I guess somewhere along the way I thought I could solve this problem of looking for something in the industry that was going to be fun and sexy and cool and good vibes, but that actually when you kind of peeked under the covers of what the workout was and the movement that you're actually putting your body through was intelligently designed. And so that's how I came to find rowing. Not because I've ever rowed a day in my life, still haven't, but I was like, this thing is so good for you. Can I make it sexy, cool, accessible, part of the HIIT class? And I thought it was actually kind of the perfect anchor for the macro goal I wanted to solve. I didn't want to create a rowing studio. I wanted to create something much bigger. Just happened to use the rower.
What? Bigger like what?
Like the perfect balance of cardio and strength training. It's also low impact and really fun.
Is that not CITYROW?
It is, but I'm saying like I didn't mean for it to be the rower. That's just the rower found its way into my vision.
Got it. So you were addicted to the fitness lifestyle. Because
Yeah.
not for nothing, that era, that like 2013 to like 2017,
Totally.
like Flatiron Manhattan was like the mecca for New York City fitness.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, I like.
We hit it right.
Yeah,
We hit the timing right, for sure.
completely. So you go into rowing without having any previous history of being a rower.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Kind of like starting a company and not being a founder before. The rowing was actually kind of the easiest part because when you just do a little bit of research, it is crystal fucking clear that that thing is fantastic for you, but it doesn't get a good rep because people grow up running and riding bikes. The only people that grow up rowing probably rowed in high school or college and never want to row again. Or they're doing it for CrossFit and they want to die a little bit. And so there just isn't like this built-in population of people who are like, oh, I'd love to row. Right now, that's you now and me too, but
the
didn't
reason,
exist.
The reason why Harper and Jared both told me about CITYROW and why you got to try this, because when I was in high school, I went to the gym and people are jumping on the treadmill for cardio. I hit the rower.
Oh,
You
were an OG.
I was no. I
You
like.
got there before me.
I was an anomaly. I
Yeah.
loved using the rower when I was younger because it hits everything. Whereas with hitting the treadmill, you're just really doing cardio.
Totally.
You're just running, but like the rower hit everything, and that's why like I loved it.
You
and
did.
then also just like
This is a junkie, guys. Junkie.
Yes.
Couldn't get this guy out of the
I
room.
would do back to backs. Some days I would do like the 7 a.m. row and flow, and then I'd be back at 6:30 for another one.
Yeah, we were concerned on the back end, but we didn't let him know that because we wanted his money.
Yeah, but I don't think I ever paid for a class.
Yeah, you were tough about that, but we'll talk about that offline.
No, but it was all right. So just talk about that.
You can send me a gift after.
I will send you a gift after, but part of that was like, you know, the doing right on others.
Yeah.
And so like when you needed an apartment in the Upper East Side,
Oh my God,
Like-
that was fun.
like we needed for a $2,200 studio,
Oh
putting
my God, I was so poor.
a 28 page co-op package together,
God, that was terrible.
and then needing to make multiple copies for these co-op owners.
This guy.
Didn't charge anything.
I know. We had a good
No,
time.
it was like one hand washes the other.
That's what we do. Yeah. But you were a great rower. Hope you still have good form.
I have great form.
Fantastic.
If
news.
anything, it's gotten better.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to call Annie afterwards and double check. I got to rerow in the other room.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Annie. Let's talk about growing the
Yeah,
team.
let's do it.
When you were building CITYROW from the ground up, what was the first thing you were looking for in your trainers? First, in your main design trainer, and then everyone after that. So Sean, Beth, yada yada.
I knew early on that I was not a fitness professional, and I have enough. I'm intuitive enough to know that like I needed to find someone that had those complementary skill sets to me, and I'm very self-aware. So I knew that I was good at business. I could handle the networking. I could figure out like all the operational stuff, but there was one thing that I couldn't do, and that was teach the class. And I also like kind of knew that I wouldn't be good at that, even if I tried. So I had to find a fitness professional. And I actually looked for a very, very, very long time. Could not find anyone.
Where were you looking?
I was looking on Rate Your Burn. I was going to random classes that were like rated in the city.
Yeah.
Trying to find someone that had any rowing experience, and then actually got off that train because there was no rowing. Like maybe you'd find someone that had done Orange Theory, but there actually wasn't any Orange Theory in the city at that time. So then I was trying to find someone that was just a great fitness professional that was down to learn rowing, or had maybe done like Equinox had one like ropes and rowers class. And so I just started DMing people.
Was part of, and I'm happy you said DMing people, was part of the search also looking at their following?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be great if we had someone that had some kind of following for sure. And then one day, and I like flew people in from Texas. I mean, God knows, I was doing my best to network in a brand new industry, but I was coming from tech. So I had actually no fitness connections. I was using Rate Your Burn, which is a now defunct website that ranked instructors and trainers. And one day I saw Annie trending on this website as being one of the best yoga instructors in Manhattan.
And you're like, I know her.
I know her very well because we studied abroad together in college and had way too much fun that is inappropriate for this podcast.
And then wait. So, I mean, I know what the next part of the story is. So you see her trending on this website.
Yep. And I shot her a note on Facebook because we were study abroad friends, and we really didn't communicate after we left study abroad.
And this
she
is now
went
like
to
8 years
NYU.
later.
Yeah. And she didn't respond for so long that I kind of forgot about her, and I was still like pinging other people. Finally, she responded, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'd love to meet up." And I was like, "Great, when?" We had a date, we had to move it. And I get there and I'm telling her all about it, and she's super into it. And she said, "This is super cool. I can't wait to come. Like, I'll bring all my friends." And I was like, "Oh, no. I need you to like maybe figure out what the class looks like and then teach the class." And I can still kind of picture her face because we were sitting at the Butcher's Daughter downtown. And it wasn't a no, and it was a little mischievous. And if you know Annie, there's always something in the back of those eyes. And I'll always remember that as being the day that, she went all in on me, and I went all in on her. And we were together until the final day.
She was as perfect of a fit as you could have possibly have had.
Thank you.
Like, what she did to create that programming, what she did as a face of the company, and like just the energy that she brought was like the best you could have asked for.
I couldn't agree more.
So then now you have Annie, and she's creating the programming.
Thank God.
How'd you go about finding your next people? Because you got to have a team.
Got to have a team. Locking Annie in was super important because I also knew that I needed somebody to hire the team, because I am not a fitness professional.
Right.
Let me hire the lawyer. Let me hire the front desk people. Let me actually, figure out the bank account, do the systems. And so once Annie was on board, then I was able to kind of go back to those DMs and like start to network a little bit better, and then pass them to Annie to vet them. And Sean was a guy that I had been DMing for a while, and he was like this big Equinox guy that had a little bit of a following, but he was like a single dad, and so he was like concerned about the economics and the startup. But ultimately I could just like, it was a good fit because he was also looking to take a jump. And I do think that was a big jump for him in his career and ultimately paid off because it's definitely set the stage for him to be a little bit more of a boutique fitness instructor. And then Beth Lewis, who I met through a friend super randomly, ended up being an unbelievable fixture in the CITYROW story.
Amen.
And I do not know in a lot of ways like where the programming would have gone if she hadn't joined, because she was just such a smart, intentional, like woman as it relates to thinking about how to move your body in a smart way. I've learned so much from her personally over the years too, that she just, every idea that came out of her mouth was both edgy and awesome and scary and cool and probably the smartest thing we'd ever heard of. So we had a motley crew, and it was like that until the end.
I love it. And I know a common theme here is also women creators, women doers. When you are seeking women to work for your company, and also just like women that you work with in general with consulting, or people that you work with in consulting, are you looking for women to help? Are you looking for women to work for you very intentionally?
I wouldn't say as it relates to like hiring people that are working for me. It's more of people that if I can go and have an impact on a female founder, that it's not a non-negotiable for me, but it's a negotiable thing that I'm looking for, is if I can have an impact on women in general. Like if that's a piece of whatever I'm doing, it helps elevate it. It's not, again, it's not a non-negotiable. I do some awesome things with, a partner of mine out of LA, and he started and incubated a company in the healthcare AI space. But he's someone that I've been, working with and investing alongside and creating with for 5-6 years. And so I am excited about that project and Chief Strategy Officer there because it's working with great people. So I think for me, it's more about working with great people that can challenge me and help me grow is just so fun, because I was a sole founder for a long time. And obviously I have an amazing co-founder and Ashley and Annie as a partner, and I had great investors and a board, but it is really fun to collaborate with people that are complementary skill sets and equals.
Well, if anything, that's probably one of the biggest things you've learned from the CITYROW journey, is knowing that I can do this, and it's great that you can do this, and now we could be equals together, and that's how you're going to grow even more.
Exactly. And I did the same thing for so long, and yes, it changed, and yes, the day-to-day was wildly different at every stage and every month of the business, but being able to like get my hands dirty in so many different things, by so many I mean like 3 to 4, maybe 5, and then some advising as well. It is so fun. Like I'm having so much fun just like learning different things, and to your point, seeing where my skill sets can apply and have a positive impact on people.
So 15th floor opens up.
Yeah.
2 years go by and you're like, we need to expand.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Tell me about the Upper East Side and how that came about.
Second location was where everything fell apart. The first one, it's kind of like you're making pancakes, and the first pancake is always a test, right? And it's like a little wonky and the edges aren't right. And then the pan heats up and the butter gets hot, and like then the pancakes start to like look really nice and you can eat them. First pancake tastes good, doesn't always look good. That was Union Square. And so with the Upper East Side, we wanted to make our first pretty pancake that actually represented the sophisticated brand that we were creating in New York. Signed this 10-year lease for ground floor and basement on 80th and 3rd. It needed a lot of work, and we were going to get a pretty good rate, $20K a month. Yep, that's a good rate for ground floor on the Upper East Side.
Crazy.
I know. And from day one, it was a shit show. Asbestos, co-op building, flooding. It was a disaster. There was a moment that I document pretty well in the book, I'm sure you enjoyed this part, where I had to cut a second means of egress in this ground floor location. And at the last minute, the co-op wasn't going to let me cut the hole.
But they had approved it previously.
The prior summer, I had plans that were they'd signed it.
So they had signed previously the summer before saying you could do this.
Yeah.
But your build out was taking so long. Is that what happened?
It wasn't even that the build out was taking so long. So basically, I had to cut a 35 square foot hole. I'm not saying it wasn't like a small hole.
Yeah.
This was a
It's a
massive
means of
hole.
egress. It's not somewhere for air to come in. It's for people to be able to go in.
And it was on the side of 200 unit building on the Upper East Side. So this is a big deal. But they had signed it probably over the summer, and maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't look at it closely. But then when things were getting closer, and we weren't really behind, we were just like, okay, today's the day that we're cutting the Louvre. And they were like, what? And so we had the law behind us, and Jared obviously was always behind us. And didn't Jared get a great story in some of the earlier chapters?
Yeah.
Fucking love that guy. We were like, I checked the boxes on legal, and then it was like, let's cut the hole and see what happens.
And you had a call with, who was the guy in sweatpants?
David Chris. May he rest in peace.
David, you're like, what would you do if you were me?
Yeah.
And I love that. When I read that, because I use that all the time. I use
Yeah.
that throughout the week.
Okay.
What would you do if you were me?
Amazing.
And he said, what are they going to do?
Exactly.
What are they going to do? Shoot first, ask questions later.
Man, that was such a character. The characters I've encountered on the CITYROW journey run the gamut. He might be up there, though. This guy.
Based on the book so far, yeah.
Yeah, there's some good characters.
Very New York energy.
Yeah, but that was fun. So we opened the Upper East Side, and we learned a lot of lessons. That first location, you mentioned the time frame being really awesome for boutique fitness and Flatiron, and it was. And we really didn't do any marketing before we opened that location, which in today's world is unheard of. But it was at the time where there was actually more demand than there was supply for boutique fitness classes.
Well, also, I think that the people who were covering it held more weight, like,
Yeah.
not Vogue, who wrote
Well
it?
and good.
Well and Good.
Yeah.
So, Well and Good writing about it
Totally.
was huge.
Huge. And even if they wrote for the second one, it was 2 years later. You don't have the saturation in the Upper East Side as you do in Union Square. Mm-hmm. And we had a growing list of people in Union Square, but not on the Upper East Side. And so I'm not ashamed to admit that we flopped the opening. We totally flopped the opening. And then we realized what we had done. Not to mention we were doubling operations, doubling our team overnight, right? Startups don't do that. They grow gradually. Mm-hmm. When you're going from a brick and mortar location from 1 to 2, you're totally just doubling. It was wild. And I'm glad that we survived. Then we had a flood.
Yeah.
6 weeks later, which was terrible, and we ran out of money. So I would say it wasn't a great year, Steve.
No, I remember it all in real time also.
Yeah?
So yeah, I remember all of it in real time, and hearing about it more in the book, it's I remember that sucked. But always, you put out such a good face.
Thank you.
And you don't put out any trauma, and you make it seem like, don't worry, everything's okay. Don't worry, I got this. And it always looks like, the perception always looks like things are going in the right direction. Like the next things that you guys pivoted into doing.
Well, I think, frankly, that's what a founder does. And it's what a CEO does a lot of times, too, especially when for an early stage startup. When somebody asks how things are going, they're fantastic. They're always fantastic. That's your job.
Right, but as things are hitting the fan,
Yeah,
and they are hitting
more
the fan,
fantastic. Yeah.
you wanted to throw in another business model.
Or two.
Well, there was the first one.
Yeah.
And then the second one, which mentioned the first one, but the second one, then your people thought that it might hinder the second.
Yeah.
They thought the third business model was going to hinder the second business model.
Yeah.
What was the second
So let's
one?
just say I didn't think that I never thought there were any limits to this business. When I opened, people were like, are you going to be the next SoulCycle? And I was like, maybe, if that's where the industry is telling us to go. And so we always had our finger on the pulse of what the industry was craving. And first and foremost, we need to expand retail. So we signed with a franchising partner out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is super fun. And then we started building out the franchise system. But also, I saw those early numbers at a Peloton. And I saw a couple of things that gave us an unfair advantage there. One, me and my co-founder came from tech. So you have tech junkies that happen to start a fitness company. That sounds pretty perfect to go into this space. And two, I'd witnessed friends, Union Square clients who, big avid fans, had a kid, moved to the suburbs, couldn't get to class. And I was like, wow, I think they would do this at home. Not to mention, the rower stands up beautifully in the corner of the room as long as you buy the right rower.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice wooden piece.
DM me for a code.
Nice wooden piece. You
Oh,
can
it
lean
stands
it up.
It totally works. And so we bet very early on the digital connected fitness space as our franchise system was rolling out. And I think in the early days of connected fitness, people were scared of it because they did not realize that it was an and, not an or. Meaning that people are doing both in person and at home. And the way that you have to look at the way people engage in connected fitness at home is typically they're at the bottom of what I like to call the fitness maturity curve. So I like to call, this is the fitness maturity curve, okay?
Okay.
And as people go through their wellness journey, they move from the top to the bottom. Spoiler alert, we're at the bottom, right? We like to move our body every day. We like to be intentional about movement. We're probably hydrating. Let this be a moment to take a sip of your water or maybe your seltzer, whatever you want. And we're here for longevity and mobility and, I don't know, like a sub 130 split time, right? Most of the country and the world is up here. And what I mean by that is they're entering their fitness journey. Maybe they're going to start walking, right? That's fantastic. Maybe they're, okay, I've been walking 3 days a week for 30 minutes. Maybe I'm going to join a YMCA. I'm going to do the elliptical, right?
Yeah.
Then you move through that, and maybe in the middle, you're going to join boutique fitness, Orange Theory, maybe a CITYROW class, right? And then maybe you're going to do a personal trainer once a month. And so that's what I mean, the fitness maturity curve. And connected fitness, if you were going to dedicate place in your home and to spend that much money on it, you probably have a home gym or you're getting one piece of equipment, you're far along in your fitness maturity curve.
And the self-motivation to do it versus you probably had dozens of people who bought rowers and then didn't chime in.
Exactly. So we thought that there was a huge opportunity to go in there and actually capture the audience of people that we were going to be reaching via our brick and mortar locations as they progressed on their fitness journey. Because then we could capture them as they moved to a new city or they couldn't get out as much because maybe they had a kid or a new job. And then they'd get back to the studios if they moved back into the city or went on a work trip. And so it was really kind of this flywheel effect that we were trying to build between the studios and the digital. But a very single-minded person could look at that and say, well, if you launch an at-home solution, then why would I want to buy a franchise? And then I was like, I don't think you're the right franchisee.
And how many people, not how many people, I'm trying to think, how many people did you like scare away with that?
You know, I don't know the numbers because
what was and not to cut you off, what was the time frame between we're going to franchise, we're going to go to Ann Arbor and meet with all these people coming in and going from that to now we're going to go digital? What was was there a 4 months or 6 months, a year?
So it was actually about the same time. So we signed our, it was all happening at the same time. And we were very transparent about it. So we would welcome people in before they even got to Ann Arbor for the in-person. I made sure that they got a tech presentation.
Did they know, did you like talk, the way you just explained to me, like the levels?
Yeah.
Where you're like, at home is like this level. Those aren't your target people. They might be eventually.
Yeah.
But here's how this works. Mm-hmm. And anybody who's here would also be a here.
Yes. And it also helped us, I think, refine the franchisees that made sense to be a part of CITYROW, because there were also some cool benefits to the franchisees by having the digital. So for instance, like we were able to incentivize the top tier membership with a free companion app with the classes in their pocket. Say they were traveling or we had some yoga classes on there. And we were also going to be targeting the digital consumers to go into locations. And so if you were able to see this as a more holistic partnership, that's the kind of person that I wanted to welcome in anyway, because I thought that it represented really elevated thinking. And so it helped us bring in the right people. And if they didn't see it, then they probably didn't make sense to be part of our system.
So when did it start to go awry?
You know, I think if you'd asked me every year, every month, how it was going for real, and I was open enough to be vulnerable with you, like I would have been like probably crying, because there was no easy moment of the entire 10 years.
Another theme in your book is that you're a crier.
Oh yeah, I'm a crier. Yeah, I am.
So, but when did it like, when did it start to go awry? So, digital franchises, how long was that before COVID when digital probably started booming a bit more?
Exactly. So going into 2020, we had sold close to 70 franchises. We had just opened our first 7.
70 with a big shout out and thank you to,
Franworth in Ann Arbor.
I was going to say Savannah Guthrie.
Oh, yeah. Savannah Guthrie did help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Savannah Guthrie gave us a great, great, great interview in 2018. And it was a piece for the Today Show that was about women in business. And we hit it off. I still think that we're probably good friends.
You're homies.
And we got a lot of franchise inquiries from that one piece on the Today Show. So, yes, big thanks to Savannah, Franworth in Ann Arbor, and a million other people. So we went into that year like getting ready to crush franchising. And then at the same time, from the digital perspective, we had launched our V1, which was, we had an iOS app and an Android app
I remember it.
that you could watch and stream classes of rowing classes, strength classes, like some yoga on there. And it connected via Bluetooth to our first version of our rower. So the first version of our rower did not have its own screen. You would kind of like get a little bracket and put your own phone or iPad there, and that's how you watch.
That's what I would use. I had with the flip over, and you put your phone on there.
Yeah, so that was our V1. That was in market already. So going into COVID, we had like these 2 business units that were really emerging, and we had plans to launch our more integrated rower, the one with the big fancy screen on it, in October. So that is like the frame of reference that we went into COVID with, was a baby franchise system and a new and emerging digital business that we intentionally slow rolled.
Sounds fucking exciting.
But like we had V1 in market. And so overnight, to your point, digital started booming, and we were able to actually like complete the demand because we had such great manufacturers here in Rhode Island.
Yep. Water row.
Water rower. They were amazing. And on the flip side, franchises were decimated completely. It like still breaks my heart to think about it. These baby businesses that were shut down overnight and really had no chance. You know, we had a studio in Thousand Oaks, California that was set to open with record-breaking members. Like these guys were
on March 15th.
Such hustles. It was actually, their opening was April 1st or something, and they were in California, and it was just like, I'm actually not sure how I got through those first couple of months, but it was also a weird dichotomy because you had half the business was slaying, and we couldn't even figure out how to keep the demand up, and we also were getting demand to do many other partnerships and things like that, and it was at the same time some of the saddest moments ever in franchising. And so, I mean, in a lot of ways that was the beginning of the end, but we got a couple of really big waves that pushed us forward over the next, 4 years.
Now, with all this going on, with like this roller coaster of emotions, what do you do to keep a positive mindset? Do you meditate? Do you have a glass of scotch? Like, what do you do to focus? What do you do to
I
like?
was someone that drinks scotch.
Yeah,
I actually want to get into that.
Scotch?
Yeah, like I so far haven't gotten into that, but I want like a cool drink. I'm a crier.
Mm-hmm.
I like to work out.
Mm-hmm.
I like to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I like to walk. I like to talk to friends. I love therapy.
All
Tried
things-
to meditate a million times over.
all
I'm
these
still working
things
on
are
my
good for your
meditation journey,
mind.
but I've got a lot of tools that I employ. I like relaxing in whatever way that means for me, and it wasn't always easy. Haven't always done a good job.
So, when did the digital start having a downfall?
Yeah, so digital obviously saw some huge waves during COVID, and that was to our benefit. So in the beginning, we actually were cash flow positive for a few months because digital was booming so much, and then demand just totally like caught up with us in a way that we needed to actually like pay for more tablets and all of these things.
So, I hear that we have such demand. So I
Yeah.
think that cash flow positive gets cash flow super positive.
Yeah,
Is
not
that not
that
the
much.
case?
Not that much. So then you need to place another order for, call it, 10,000 tablets, right? And that's like millions of dollars. And so it was a very weird time because the business was doing well and the demand was there, but we still needed capital to grow. So a lot of businesses that need money for capital and R&D and marketing and PR and more team, we really need to raise money.
So what'd you do?
So I tried to raise money. I found a great partner. We did a quick $1 million. all of a sudden that wasn't enough, not nearly. And we were still learning the economics of this business that, okay, we could sell the rower and we could ship the rower, but then we had to pay for the rower a couple months later when everything hit through the invoicing and the credit card, and then we were fucked. And so it was just like this weird cash flow cycle that we were learning, and all of a sudden we had to learn it at a much higher scale overnight. We didn't get to do baby steps here. We were thrown into crazy levels of shipping overnight. And so that caused operational problems for us. It forced us to raise a lot more money a lot faster. Luckily, Peloton had an $8 billion market cap in 2021.
So is that kind of like pointing at them, be like, they're worth that. We're the same product with a different piece of machinery. Give me your money. Because if you believe in that, which they're worth $8 billion, then you should believe we're worth at least $500 million.
$500 million, $250 million. You know what? Any fraction of a billion I'm actually down for.
Any fraction of $8 billion.
Yeah, and
I'll
then
be down with.
We also had a really good story around the fact that, and also not only that, but when this COVID thing is over, we have a huge brick and mortar franchise system that will be able to actually capture people once they want to go back into a studio.
I'll tell you this: the way that you just said that, I'm excited and I like that.
It's over.
But that actually makes sense.
I know.
That actually makes perfect sense. Like, this is worth $8 billion. Here's the trajectory of what we're doing right now. Here's the energy that we have. And when the COVID's over, we still have 70 franchises and more coming soon.
Exactly. I mean, it worked. We raised $12 million very quickly.
And then what happened with the
money?
money?
And then, as expected, the COVID hangover really started to hit in 2022. It really did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just us. It was the entire industry. But you'd kind of, as I say in the fitness maturity curve, connected fitness basically pulled forward demand for many years. So anyone that was like not quite ready to buy their connected at fitness equipment in 2020 and did, and then in 2021, by 2022, we had reached so far back up the funnel to pull people back down that there was no one left to buy a piece of that home fitness equipment.
Yeah.
And then things started to hit the secondary markets. And so there was really no demand to sell equipment. And it wasn't just us. And then at the same time, what we learned is that from a brick and mortar perspective, the brands that lasted were the ones that had long-standing relationships in the community. And so Union Square was primed to come back, but our baby franchises were not, because there was no community pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really hard to resurrect those locations, and they were not doing well. And so entering 2022, things were really, really rough.
So what happened?
It was bad. First, we decided to make a pivot and really kind of shut down the franchise system, meaning we were not going to invest any resources in selling more franchises. We were going to do whatever we could to support our existing franchisees, meaning we were going to waive royalties, which is actually the only way that franchises make money. We were going to shift all of our energies towards the app-only version of our at-home experience, because it's a lot easier to sell somebody on a $30 a month subscription than it is to buy a $2,000 rower. And we thought that could get us to break even.
Did the app come with a tablet or just straight up app?
Straight up app. Phone, iPad, whatever.
Unlimited classes.
Yeah, for whatever you wanted. And it connected via Bluetooth to a Concept 2, anywhere you had at home. So we thought, okay, this is pretty cool. Let's go tap people that already have rowers. Okay, fine. And then our last Hail Mary pass in fall of 2022. I was like, okay. One of my board members sat me down and she said, Helaine, there's really not a lot of independent paths forward for CITYROW. And I'm a tough train to stop. The Helaine train does not stop. I would have kept going. I'm a cockroach. Some of my investors will introduce me as, if Helaine wasn't so smart, she would have shut down the business many times over. But I could always figure out a path forward. But at the end, it was becoming very hard to see an independent path forward for CITYROW that made financial sense, because at the same time, the economic markets were shifting towards profitability being king, and nobody wanting to throw any money into a startup, let alone connected fitness. So it was like all of connected fitness died, but connected fitness died more deaths and was more decimated than like almost any other category. So it was very dark. We threw one Hail Mary pass to see if we could do a partnership distribution deal with Water Rower to get us to break even, and we could basically shutter almost all of our resources and kind of leverage their reach. And we just didn't have enough time to get it to where it needed to go. And so we started an M&A process.
So the Water Rower CEO, who was a partner.
Yeah, friend.
What was his reaction when you came with that idea?
They were pretty down. You know, we'd been partners for the entire tenure of CITYROW.
Right.
We had done a lot together. They were investors in the business. They were our manufacturer. They were thought partners with us. They were innovation partners with us. And they always saw CITYROW as an extension of what they were doing and a creative way to provide content to their audience.
For them, it was also a great proof of concept.
And they also really like selling rowers.
Yeah.
So it was like a marketing idea to sell rowers. And so they were down. It took a few minutes, but you know, at this point, this is like our 10th deal that we're signing together. And so they're like, oh, here comes Helaine again with something else.
Another $1 million.
Exactly. Or she's got a crazy idea. But no, they're pretty cool, and they were down, and we did it. But they're, you know, a big company, and what we wanted to do was very integrated. They have retailers all over the country. And so, you know, spoiler alert, CITYROW actually ended up doing a transaction with Water Rower about 9 months later. And so CITYROW now sits wholly under Water Rower. They own everything, and I'm excited to see how they're going to actually like complete that vision. But it's going to take a couple of years to get it to fully integrated in a way that our Hail Mary pass is trying to do it really quickly.
What does CITYROW look like to you now?
Oh, CITYROW is my first baby. It's this amazing 10-year adventure that I built with two of my best friends who are still my best friends today. We had this unbelievable ride. It was my MBA and more, because I think not just that I built a company, then I had to unbuild a company, which people don't talk about being a whole nother set of lessons.
Yeah.
And there are parts of it that I'll look on and be really stressed about. I think it's still fresh. It's only been a couple of months since we transacted.
Do you have any enemies?
This is a public podcast.
Yeah.
So no.
Okay. Well, just knowing that, you know, when you invest in a startup,
Yeah.
you know it's a risk.
Oh yeah.
It's
sure.
not nothing's guaranteed. Even we were talking about Peloton, valued at $8 billion. Peloton went from, maybe their stock price went from like 180 to $30.
Yeah.
Quick.
Really fast.
So nothing's guaranteed. And a lot of people I know, not people I know, but just reading the book, a lot of people had invested money.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people lost money.
Yes. I wouldn't say I have enemies, because I do think that most people are sophisticated investors, and I'm fortunate enough that I had very sophisticated investors that came on. And I know that I did the best to my ability to communicate at every juncture what was going on, even if it was ugly. But nobody likes receiving ugly news. Nobody likes hearing that they lost money. So it doesn't matter what I did and how well I communicated, how I over-communicated. Doesn't matter how little I was sleeping or what I was doing to pull a rabbit out of my hat. You know, people don't really give a shit, right? And it really sucks. I still hate it. I never in a million years thought that it would end in a way that, you know, would return such little shareholder value. And I'll probably be mad about that for a very long time. I'll be just as mad as a lot of them, because while people lost a lot of money, I put 10 years of my life into that. And, you know, I have people that come to me all the time who are maybe like a little tone deaf, who are like, well, the opportunity cost, Helaine, of you staying there for 10 years. Like, you know, think of all the things you could have built and sold. And I'm just like, why would I think about that? That's not super helpful. Thank you so much. But I would say there have been a couple of, you know, nasty emails here and there over the years. But for the most part, the emails that come back that say, I've never witnessed, you know, a team and a person that had this much like grit and perseverance, and I will bet on you whatever you want to do next, outweigh those.
Just don't fuck it up.
Yeah, but I also, like, you know, I might, or the industry might, or COVID might happen again.
Yeah.
And I think I'm still angry because it's still such a great fucking workout. Like, it is the greatest
Yeah.
workout ever, and I will stand by that until the day I die.
I mean, you know how addicted I was.
Yeah,
I literally, many a times, twice a day.
yeah.
I was a big advocate for CITYROW. It
Thank you.
was part of my community. I took at least a handful of dates there.
Yeah, those were fun. Those were
Yeah.
fun. Listen, it's a great. I have one right in the next door. I rode yesterday.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a great workout.
My rower, it needed to make space in the apartment, so I put it in the gym in our building.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
What do the next 6 months look like for Helaine?
Yeah. What do the next 6 months look like? So I'm between New York and Austin. I am having a lot of fun consulting. This Loop and Tide gifting company is like, big during the holidays. People like to do like, employee or client gifting. So I'm excited to see what I can do in like a new role that is helping a friend. And so I want to hustle really hard for the next couple of months for someone else's company, which feels kind of strange, but I'm fired up about it.
Well, not for nothing. What it'll also do is it'll elevate your worth, showing that, look what I did. Here's my post-founder experience, and now I'm helping them grow. And then it just goes into what you could ask for from other companies.
Exactly. And then I have a few other consulting projects. One's in adaptive clothing wear company. We're helping this founder in the clothing space. I know. I'm also confused.
Adaptive clothing?
Yeah, so think of clothing for people that have mobility challenges.
Oh, so instinctively when you said that, say it again. What kind of clothing?
Adaptive?
Adaptive, not active.
Yeah.
Adaptive, active
They
clothing.
have an
line.
active line, actually.
So
yeah.
adaptive clothing, I think I went to an event once for a company that has like activewear with parts of the shirt open up for people who have to go to the hospital to get
Yep.
IVs or...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So similar. Think of like a front clasping bra or snap underwear or just anything that can help people get dressed if they need a little extra help. And so
Love
another
that.
fun one. And then, healthcare AI company. I've got a few other like small consulting projects that I might do, but I want to leave space to just like have some fun, support people. I don't know. It's summer in New York.
Yeah.
Go to the beach.
And when you have a business idea that comes about, maybe you'll start it.
I might. Again, no big decisions for a year. And then I also have this book that is, kind of surprising that I wrote a book, but glad that I was able to memorialize this chapter of my life.
Yeah, I love it because like I'm reading it and I remember it.
Yeah. I think I'm surprised too, because people who are a part of the journey can, commiserate with it, but it's actually having a much wider reach than I had thought. I thought it was just for entrepreneurs or founders, and really it's for anyone that needs to feel seen in some capacity and know that they're not alone. And it was definitely a vulnerable share.
Yeah.
I was not focused on the fact people were actually going to read the book. I was focused on this as like a project for me. And
telling the story.
Yeah, and I wanted a little bit of a feather in my cap after everything that we've done here. And it's also a good story. And so I wanted to have it. Did not think that so many people would read this book and feel so seen and really enjoy it. And so now I'm like, oh yeah, no, I put a lot of things in there.
And I feel like when I get to the end and I realize, and I hear the story told from you about how it all ends, it's also very commendable that you could even do this after not succeeding.
And that was part of why I did it, though, because I also felt very strongly that there had to be a voice for the stories that aren't told, which are the ones that don't end in $1 billion. And this is most stories. This is most startup stories. But nobody talks about it because it's not rainbows and butterflies.
It is everything but rainbows. Literally, there's
but it's still an inspirational story, and that's what I think is pretty cool.
The rainbows and butterflies are like and Jared got us through the legal trouble.
Yeah.
And we got $12 million. It's like, and then this happened. And then this happened.
Yeah, it's the waves. It's the waves. The waves.
So, speaking of books.
Yeah.
What is one book that you would recommend to anybody?
Good to Great, Jim Collins. I read it every couple of years, if not more so. I gift it to everybody that I think needs a little bit of a pick-me-up. It's also really tactical. I get something from it every time. So I'm a huge, huge, huge fan.
Amen. I'll put it on the list.
Thank you very much.
And now, before I let you go, Give me one word of advice for anyone trying to make it.
One word.
Give me one word of advice for anyone trying to make it.
Jump in. That's 2 words.
That's good.
It's enough. It's powerful.
Yeah.
The second one's a short word.
Not only that, it also fits with. It's kind of it could be a pun.
Yeah,
Jump in, jump in the water. You use the word waves a lot.
I do.
I heard
A lot
you
of
say,
water metaphors
yeah,
going on.
Waves, anchor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got them all.
Yeah, you got them all.
I love it.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is fun.
Helaine Knapp, author and founder of CITYROW.